Hey guys, welcome to today's video on my daily rituals outside of exercise that help me to reset my metabolism. So if you're new to my channel, I want to say firstly, hi, my name is Elika. I'm an energy optimization coach and a trusted advisor for purpose-driven leaders who want to optimize their energy, because you've realized that that's how you're going to create the impacts that we're here to make in this world. So if you like the sound of that, then hit the button to subscribe so that you can stay on top of these videos that I share, that I'm sharing all of the lifestyle habits and hacks that we have to stay on top of. Now, I like to talk about my metabolic flexibility, my ability to shift my body into a fat-burning machine, to utilize my body's most efficient source of energy and in a 24-hour clock. Now, it's always worth noting that women have to work in cycles of 24 hours because we have roughly a 28-day cycle that we work to. But when I think about habits to me are small things that you do consistently. And so I like to fit that into a day, and then you can see how I build that up over a longer period of time. So the first step I want to take is the moment I wake up. This to me is the most important thing for becoming metabolic fit. Why? Is because it's connected to sleep. And when we talk about sleep, you often think about at night, but I actually teach all my clients to think about sleep the moment you wake up, because that's when you can control so many variants that happen to you at night. So one of my first tips for you is when you wake up in the morning, the time that you wake up is really important, because the time that you wake up in the morning and the quicker you can get your eyes into natural light, ideally, you step out on a balcony or you go outside or you open the windows and you get that natural sunlight into the receptors of your eyes, you literally then send off a chemical reaction in your body that tells your body that it's time to wake up, and sets that, not just your hormones, but sets that cycle, that circadian cycle of the rhythm, the biological rhythm in your body going. And that is what's going to affect you later, for your body to know what time it should roughly be releasing melatonin, which is that hormone that helps us to have that deep restorative sleep. So that you can actually start that by the morning. So for me, I like to therefore wake up at the same time within an hour, which for me is typically between 6 and 7 a.m. every morning. It doesn't matter whether it's weekends or holiday, the same thing. Now, I'm going to tell you, because I've done this now for over a decade, that if I am falling sick or my period is coming, my body naturally wakes up a little bit later, and it tends to be between 7:30. So now I actually use that as a sign that I actually might be falling sick, or my body's asking for more rest. And so that's the really beautiful thing, is that when you're consistent in something like this, then you can then use that as signals when something is off. So we get up at the same time every morning, and we use the natural light to stimulate the receptors of our eyes to send the body into actually all of the rhythms that it needs to do to be energized in the day. So what's that? Like, part of that is we have that cortisol spike, that early morning cortisol spike, which is really important for us to have that urgency to get up and get going in the world. Men specifically will notice that they have a testosterone peak early in the morning. Again, another symbol of that hormone of drive and motivation to get us up and going. So we get to utilize that energy. Now, the common mistake people make is then hijacking that natural energy by using coffee. And the truth is, if you do have coffee, which I'm not a coffee drinker, I'm more of a tea drinker, I enjoy a coffee every now and then, but if you do have that coffee too early, you're actually wasting the natural hormones that get that adrenaline, that cortisol spike that you have early on in the morning. So you want to kind of wait a little bit, and especially have water first, and let that naturally subside before you have coffee, if your next thing is coffee. Personally, for me, it's not. So I then go to my warm water and lemon. Now, I take warm water and lemon because in Chinese medicine, which is one of the modalities that I studied, we don't want to put in a system that is waking up, the digestive system, the stomach starts to work early morning. We don't want to put in that something that slows down that process. So we wouldn't want to put ice or cold on something that is warming up, something that's waking up. So the warm water is there for that reason. The lemon is because the lemon is a really great way to naturally cleanse, support the liver, detox, vitamin C, so cleanse out the toxins that have been building up overnight as the body goes through its natural cleansing and and repair process. So I feel that having that flush in the morning, obviously it also helps to go to the toilet. With the warm water helps you when you go to the toilet. So having that flush really helps me to again have that surge of energy and waken everything up in a natural way. So what do I do then? Then I like to have a movement practice. Now, this particular video, I don't want to focus on movement for metabolically fitness because I think there's just so much that we do in exercise and already so many beliefs that we have to overcome that true metabolic fitness comes from just exercising or over-exercising. Well, I will do a morning movement. Now, my morning movement does change every day, but I move every single day. So now as we come into the day, what other things am I doing? Well, the first is my first meal of the day when I break fast, and I like to keep my first meal of the day within, again, about an hour window. So currently for me, that seems to be about 10 o'clock. I have had moments when I fast, I'll come to fasting in a bit. But for me, roughly eating within a 1 hour window every day. And that first meal is another important factor on how I keep metabolically fit. So that first meal has to be high in protein. I want to help and support the building blocks of my cell. I want to be able to give myself a food source that keeps me fuller for longer, which of course the secondary food source to that is fat. But when you have a lot of protein, you do feel satiated. The third, should I say, is that I want to make sure that when I fill my plate, that it's filled with the priority of what my body needs. So for me, I want to have protein on the plate, and then I want all my micronutrients. That's my fruits, my vegetables. I want to add that to it. So that can look like eggs. I love eggs, and I like that to have that with spinach, or sometimes I'll just scramble it and have it with an avocado, cherry tomatoes, and some seeded bread. Sometimes I'm going to have it with some leftover roast meats that I've had from the day before. So that could be roast chicken. Sometimes I'm making meatballs. So I'll have meatballs. Again, I'll have that with avocado or spinach, stir-fried mushrooms and onions sometimes. Again, I tend to eat a lot of leftovers from the previous meals and assembly my meals, and that just helps me. I also like to have chia seed pudding, mix in a good protein powder, and add nuts, seeds, and usually berries like blueberries, to be honest, on the top of that. So these are variants of the breakfast I have. But a lot of the time I'm building up my breakfast with leftover vegetables added to a protein source. So now I've really got something that's going to keep my blood sugar stable. It's going to keep me away from cravings, right, for refined sugars, processed foods, and I'm going to be able to feel like I've got that energy that's sustainable for at least 4 hours before I need to eat again. Now, because I can then go 4 hours before eating, what that's doing is, again, it's training my metabolism to understand that there are certain periods of time when I eat. Now, I'm going to just go back a little bit to that meal, because there is something that is really important to me, especially more recently where I've been really working on my digestive enzymes that I've been doing. So before I eat a meal, I have been preparing my body to receive the meal, and I do that in 3 ways. One, apple cider vinegar, because that also is a stimulant. It obviously allows the body to start understanding that it's time to digest because of the acidicness of it. Secondly, when I take apple cider vinegar, because now, if you understand that the mind is always tracking behaviors, so when it has apple cider vinegar, it knows that I'm going to eat food. And when it knows it's going to eat food, then the mind's already creating the environment for that. So, for example, digestion starts in the mouth, so saliva starts to form. Saliva is the first part of the digestion system where you start releasing enzymes. So when you know you're going to get hungry, you know you're going to eat something, if you notice sometimes your mouth waters, well, equally, if you incorporate habits, like I incorporate apple cider vinegar, it does that. The other thing about apple cider vinegar is it gives me really good access to enzymes, bacterial enzymes. So if you think about probiotics and prebiotics, I'm adding the fermented apples, right? I'm adding those good bacteria into my gut first. And the third thing that I love about apple cider vinegar is how it supports blood sugar balances. So if you're going to have anything that has a lot of sugars in, which again, I would never be doing that for my first meal, then it really does help to prevent a glucose spike. So apple cider vinegar. The second thing that I do is I say a prayer. This is something that I did as a child growing up that I've come back to. You know how you remember those important things? I remember how my grandma used to make us pray before a meal, and like, I remember honestly as a child I was feeling a little bit awkward, sometimes a little bit weird. I'd already picked up that, maybe it was something that was like not every family would do. And I've gone back to it, and I just say a simple prayer to express my gratitude for the food and what it will do in nourishing every cell in my body. But again, this is a habit that I'm wanting to train my brain to recognize that it's about to eat, but also to recognize gratitude in the fact that I get to eat whole foods because I've educated myself on the importance of the foods I eat. I get to eat predominantly organic, so I'm allowing myself to have food that is free from toxins and chemicals and pesticides. And in every moment, I think that we can express on the small things. I think we really allow ourselves to train on the bigger things. And don't forget, a really good part of metabolic fitness is having less stress. And if you're more grateful for the small things that you have, you experience less stress. So with the apple cider vinegar and then the prayer, then the other thing that I've been adding more recently is digestive enzymes. So with the digestive enzymes, that is just because specifically for me, again, I'm very big on personalisation. When I looked at my gut test, one of my digestive enzymes was low. So I'm really supporting my body in this stage. I honestly believe that long term, I wouldn't want my body to rely on digestive enzymes in supplement form. So that's why it's also important for me to add in the other habits like a prayer that really can support a routine that my body gets used to so that it knows what to do. It knows to start releasing digestive enzymes because I'm more present before I eat. So digestive enzymes, how I do that is we eat a little bit first and then maybe like 2 mouthfuls, and then we take one, and then I take the second one about halfway through the meal. And if you just think about the way that the digestion of the food works, and also different foods digest at different speeds. So of course, like things like fruit digest really quickly as opposed to more complex proteins or even heavy or even fats. So I allow that layering of the digestion by taking the digestive capsules at 2 variance points, one at the beginning, one after 2 mouthfuls and one halfway through my meal. So there's a routine before eating: apple cider vinegar, prayer, and digestive enzymes. That's something that I've been incorporated recently that I think is really working for me, again because I really do personalize on what I'm seeing in my data as well of my body, which is all the functional medicine testing that I do. So as we go through the day, obviously I'm going to have a second meal, and assuming that I'm not fasting, so the second meal can be no more than 4 hours before the first. And that's just because I want to train the body to have space where it can convert from burning food as its fuel source to actually going into the natural fat stores that I hold in my body and using that as the energy source. So I want to train my body to be able to go periods of time without constantly snacking and needing sugar and have these blood sugar spikes. So I want to have that little window of time. So let's say if I have that at 10 o'clock, then usually, maybe about 2 o'clock, sometimes even later for me, I'm going to be ready for my second meal. Sometimes my second meal is my last meal of the day, but I like to have 2 very good second meals. And my second meal will very much mirror the first. And that's because I don't look at foods like breakfast foods often. Food to me is food. Generally, I love to have eggs at breakfast, and I don't typically have that for lunch or dinner. So lunch and dinner tends to be roast meat, fish if I have it, vegetables. And if I have a carbohydrate source, it might be, what do I have in? It's sweet potato, it can be quinoa, it can be some of the seeded keto bread that I enjoy. It can be starchy vegetables like eggplant or pumpkin that I really enjoy. So these tend to be the foods that help fuel me. And that obviously depends if I'm eating at home or eating out. So if I'm eating out, there's a little bit more flexibility on that. You guys know that I practice 80-20. So 80% of the foods I eat are whole foods, minimally processed, and 20% are whatever I want. That 20% never really happens for me at home. It's always when I eat out. So, that accordingly. When I eat out, I do ask many restaurants for apple cider vinegar, and they seem very happy to comply and to buy, which I love. So that's easy. I do take my digestive enzymes with me in my bag, so I have those as well. And a prayer, that's very easy to do. So as we move through the day then, I want to talk about just the fact that one of the things that's really important for me is to walk in nature. So whether I have a meeting, whether there's an appointment or something that I've got to do, I try to figure it out so that part of it, I can walk to it, or I just get a walk. So for example, today when I think about my day, I'm working from home in the morning. I have an evening event, which I'll leave quite early for, about 5 p.m. But I'm going to go to the salon in about an hour or so, and I will walk there because it's about 30 minutes walk. So this for me will be that walk in nature through the day. And when I say nature, yeah, I'm not necessarily going to be walking through the biggest park or, beautiful forest or mountains, but it's important for us to consider that wherever we can find an opportunity to get some green space and to get sunlight, and to just remember what it takes for us to be human, that's really important. And so today, so many of us are worried about the sun. And the truth is, for humans, sun is so healing before 10 a.m. and after 4 p.m. And on a day that's, today it's slightly clouded over here, I'm in Dubai, and slightly clouded over, and I can feel it's not too extreme. So I can happily walk midday in this time for 30 minutes. Again, because I've trained my body to be able to walk daily, all of the time, and it can walk in various different conditions because that's the lifestyle that I've built. The lifestyle that I've built is one where if something is within 15 to 30 minutes, if possible, I walk it. And that I see so many opportunities every day that I can do it, and so I do it. Okay, let's think if there's anything else that I wanted to tell you about through the day. No, I think the only thing that I want to say on that is just fasting. I think I have to mention fasting because that's really part of how I keep metabolically fit without exercise. Now, I am in a phase at the moment where I'm not fasting too much. I go through various phases depending on what my body needs because I'm very intuitive in how I listen to my body. But when I do fast, the one thing that I do as a woman is I don't fast when I'm ovulating, and I don't fast the week before my period when I'm in my luteal, I call my autumn phase. So these are periods where I don't fast. But generally, I have to be very careful not to undereat because I'm in a world and an environment in wellness that's talking about food all the time, being healthy all the time. And it's so easy to undereat because you're always thinking about restriction. And so for me, I'm in this phase where I'm like, hang on a minute, I'm noticing that I am having more metabolically fitness by making sure that I don't miss any of my meals. So at the moment I'm avoiding fasting, but we see how things go. Now, I want to talk to you about, I can tell, what I said just now, I can tell that I'm having more metabolic fitness. I am personally using a device, and I'm not one for using a lot of devices, again, because I really wanted to understand my body inside out intuitively before adding devices that I then use the device to tell me what's going on in my body, especially because whether we like it or not, most of these devices, whether it's the Oura Ring, the Apple Watch, various ones, they were built on men's data. So, they don't take into consideration the nuances like the difference in heart rate variability of women compared to men, all of the different nuances. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. So I'm really grateful that I trained myself to understand, why do I wake up later on certain days? What is it that affects my energy? But one device that I do love that helps me with this is Lumen. Lumen is like a portable device that measures your intake of CO2. So you breathe into the device and it will tell you whether you're burning fat or burning sugar on a visual. And this is really good for, those times where you're like, I want to eat. But you're like, do I need to eat? Or is it another one of those reasons for my hunger? Because we have multiple reasons for being hungry outside of actually not eating. We know we have procrastination, we have emotional hunger, we have all of the different hungers, right? So what this does is it connects how I actually feel in my body and if my body actually is asking for more fuel. And so it indicates whether you're still burning sugar, which would indicate that you've not gone into the fat burning zone yet, or whether you're actually in the fat burning zone and the level of which you're in that. So I find this brilliant for training yourself how to become metabolically fit and training yourself to realize when you truly are hungry, and as opposed to you're using food as a comfort for many other reasons. So this has helped me a lot in terms of measurement. Now, lastly, the last thing that is really important to me is to eat 3 hours before I go to sleep. Now, I like to be in bed at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock if I can make it on those days. Rarely happens, to be honest now, but 10 o'clock and the latest 11 o'clock. Now, just like food, I practice 80-20. So if I've got a big night out or I've got a salsa night, I'm all good. I'm not clock watching. But 80% of the time, I like to be in bed by 10 to 11 o'clock latest. And that's also because I know that the body has its own internal clock in which each organ also goes through its own healing and repair process. I talk a lot about the liver in Chinese medicine being able to go through its detox and healing process between 1 and 3. Also, we have our lymphatic system. So we have a system in our brain where excess proteins are removed and cleared out, which helps our brain restore. And this is the sort of thing that prevents Alzheimer's, where we have essentially too much damage build up in the brain. So for me, having deep sleep is really important. So when I eat 3 hours before, that means that my body has plenty of time to digest all of that food before I sleep. And that is a way to keep metabolically fit. So you're not going into your sleep, which is a real chance for the body to repair and not have to use the energy that it's using to repair on digesting food. So that would probably be how I would end the day in thinking about the typical habits that I would be incorporating to keep myself metabolically fit. And I would love to hear any hacks, any tips, any things that are working for you. So leave that in the comments or leave me a comment on anything that I've shared, what you think about it, whether it would work for you. I'd love to hear. If you want to share this video with someone that you think is on that journey to optimizing their energy and maybe could use some tips on metabolic fitness, please share it and give it a like, because that's what really helps other people discover the world of energy management, which I think is critical for leaders today. And I always say that my newsletter, which you'll see in the description box, is the best place to get like the normal lifestyle habits that I share. I share my energy audit, which is where I audit every area of my life and I audit that to optimize my energy. And I share that with you through the newsletter. So I really enjoyed this video today and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.